What's up? Welcome to episode 25 of the Peon podcast. Apologies for the lapse in content and communication. But, just been so busy with work and planning this big trip that I just haven't had time to interview people and, find interviews and things like that. I had a couple people on the hook, but, nothing really panned out. And I figured I'd just, let it ride for a little bit. Just work's been nuts, and I've just been dealing with that. And then planning this massive trip to Asia, We're going to Seoul, Ho Chi Minh, Hanoi, Osaka, Kyoto, and Tokyo. And so, just all of my time off has been figuring out all those details, where to stay. Obviously most people would say, oh, that's got to be easy, right? You just pick a place and you go to it, or find it like a cheap location. But I didn't want to do that. This will be my second time in Asia. First time outside of Japan. I lived in Japan for like 6 months when I was in college. And this time around, I wanted to make sure that my main goal this time was to not do any touristy stuff. Not that I did too much touristy stuff when I was in Japan the first time, but I did a few things, but this time I wanted to make sure that I wasn't staying in, highly populated touristy areas. Like, I've been watching a lot of videos about each of these places that I'm going to, and the idea of walking down the street and seeing all foreigners on the street, looking at their phones, looking at Google Maps. Just, if I'm going to a foreign country, I want to be immersed in who they are and what they do, and really discover a different place. I don't want to go somewhere, a different country, travel, 18 hours across the fucking world and, just end up going to the same spots that everybody else goes to, or go to a Starbucks to get my coffee and shit like that, or the touristy things, That's just not how I want to travel. And I was sort of a little bit worried, because the first initial stuff I was seeing about Seoul was just very, it reminded me of 6th Street in Austin, which, if you don't know 6th Street in Austin, it's just think about the shittiest party street in your town. And that's exactly what it is. It's big clubs, lines around the block for some stupid, bullshit, $10 shots and, $20 beers. It's dumb. It's for college kids. I can't even get into clubs in Korea. So, because I'm too old. So, it's a good thing I know that now, but I wasn't going to go to it anyway. I was just kind of like, man, that's all they have. That's all they have. But of course that's just the narrative that people have on YouTube and stuff. 'Cause it's very hard to find somebody who digs as deep as I want to go. I want to find noise music and metal and really underground, techno spots and stuff like that, which I know does exist. It's just, you got to do some very deep dives. And so most of my time for the past month or so has been trying to find places to stay that are going to be near those areas, as opposed to, right in the middle of, Osaka's, I forgot what it's called, Donburi or whatever it is, that big, place that everybody knows it for. And same thing in Ho Chi Minh and Hanoi, a little bit less so there, but yeah. So I've been doing a lot of deep diving and found this a couple people. But shout out Where's Dan on YouTube. If you're wondering anything about Korea, go check out the dude's content. It's great. He kind of travels the way that I'm intending to travel in this trip, where he doesn't go to the big spots. He just, finds a neighborhood and he walks around. And luckily he speaks Korean. I won't be able to speak, I guess, Korean as well as he does. I've only been practicing for 2 weeks, something. But he just travels around and just talks to people and just finds local people. I feel like you're going to get a better view of the country from that perspective than you are from going to some place that's trying to exploit you or just gather foreigners in. And so check out his stuff if you're at least interested in Korea, or if you just want to watch some cool ass videos while you're working. He's great, and he just kind of travels around different small neighborhoods in Seoul and shows a part of the country that's not what everybody sees, which is not the futuristic Gangnam-gu or like Hongdae and stuff like that. So yeah, check his stuff out. But yeah, all that stuff's out of the way. Finally got all my stays and flights and stuff all scheduled and ready to go. So I can get that. I can stop worrying about that and just, pay attention to focus on Peon now. So yeah, hopefully I'll have some more interviews and some more episodes coming up here soon. Yeah, so on to the episode. Today on the show, we have Mera Caulfield, who is a comedian and performer in New York City. And this episode juxtaposed with Mark's, who's the last episode, is exactly what I love about this podcast, doing this podcast really, is that, we have Mark on who's spent his whole life dedicated to the food industry, knew what he wanted to do, has followed through and made food service a part of his life, and made such a huge impact on people in food service. And you have Mera, who's literally just in it because, it's a job that she's always known. She makes decent enough money that she can do what she wants to do outside of work. And yeah, I just want to show those two sides. There's many, many sides to this service industry, and it's just, I want to show that juxtaposition. And I actually come from Mira's side of things than from Mark's side of things. My dad was a cook growing up, so I was always in that kind of world. But when I started working in kitchens, it was always, it was an enjoyable job to have because I like to learn things and I'm a very curious person. But I spent most of my time focusing on writing, creating, doing art, that kind of thing. So my job was always like something that I could hopefully turn off. And then, my priority was going home and, writing or working on, whatever project I was working on at the time. The chef thing is new to me and not something I ever expected to be doing, but it just sort of happened. And it's fun to create stuff. So I'm enjoying it. But yeah, Mera was introduced to me by my buddy Keaton, who is a filmmaker here in Austin, who actually I met at doing exactly what I'm talking about. Like, me and him met in kitchens, and we were both like, he was trying to make films and I was trying to write scripts, and we became good friends because of that. But we both sort of thought of kitchens as just a means to make money, and then go work on our art after work. That was the priority. But yeah, Keaton's working on a project called 16 Rachels that I'll hopefully shout out once it's all ready. It's a hard thing to explain, but it's like part documentary about these 16 women named Rachel, part high concept sci-fi. It's going to be a wild project, but in the process, he met Mera, and Mera works in New York at a upscale restaurant as a server. So she was kind enough to come on and tell her stories and stuff. And like I said, this is exactly what I love about doing this podcast is, one, hearing the stories, and then two, showing how varied this industry is. Because most times people just pay attention to, like, The Bear or, Michelin cooks and shit like that, like the Michelin Guide and stuff like that. And it's all bullshit, There's so much variety to this industry, so much going on. And I just really enjoy showcasing that variety. Yeah, another thing that's great about this episode is that it really makes me realize how different the experience is for men in the service industry, back of house, front of house, whatever, and women. And it's night and day. I feel so bad for women who have to deal with male customers all the fucking time. It must be a fucking nightmare, especially just judging off of Mira's stories and whatever stories you've heard from previous episodes. It's night and day. It's crazy. And then the other thing is that we get into, I wanted to hear Mira's perspective on, as somebody who's young and only been in the service industry for a little bit of time, and never really wanted to be in the service industry, what her perspective is on people in the kitchen. She's worked in, lower end places, and then now works in like a higher end place where they actually, people in the kitchen are actually career oriented cooks and stuff like that. And her perspective is exactly what I thought. We're all fucking nuts back there, and there's some element of like, I've been thinking about it, some element of like self-punishment in the fact that we seem like we want to punish ourselves into being the best version of ourselves, if that makes sense. At least that's the way I think about it for myself. Like, I work so fucking hard so that I can get one step closer to being better every day. It seems so counterintuitive when I think about it deeply, but it makes sense to me, and maybe that's why I'm in a kitchen. So just after the interview, it got me thinking about that. So if you have any perspective on that, I'd love to hear from anybody. It's great hearing from people who listen to this podcast. So if you want to reach out and just give me your 2 cents on anything, really, Peon Magazine on Instagram, and then feel free to email me at peonwebzine@gmail.com. Before we get to the episode, follow Mera on Instagram at Mera Caulfield. That's MERACAULFIELD. And if you're in New York, follow her, and then check her out live. I'm sure she's doing shows all the time there. And lastly, I'll say that please consider donating or, giving something. It really does help. It's going to help with editing a bunch of podcasts before I leave for Asia, and paying my editor. And so you can do that by joining the Patreon. There's $3 tiers, $5 tier, and a $10 tier. And then you can scroll down to in the description of this episode, and there's a little link to donate there one time, or, make recurring. And then on the website at peonmagazine.com/support. Anything helps, seriously. New merch coming soon. I know I keep saying it, but it will be out very soon. And I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get rid of some of those designs. There's just too many designs on there. I'll probably take away some of the designs and then put up the new stuff so that stuff is highlighted. So if you want to get anything on there right now, some of the Black Flag rip-off stuff, some Lucky Peach rip-off stuff, and I'll probably keep the Peon original logo stuff up there. But if you want to get into the other stuff, I would suggest doing it sooner rather than later, because I'll probably just take it away for a bit. Who knows if it'll come back. All right. That's it for me. Hopefully I'll see you in a couple weeks with a new episode. And enjoy this episode with Mera. Thanks for listening. It's nice to meet you.
Same, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what Keaton told you, but...
Yeah, I did a project for him, and in it I'm talking, because I'm a server, I'm talking about serving, and I guess that really resonated. And then he was he reached out and he was like, I think what you were saying would be perfect for this podcast. I was like, oh, I have stories. Awesome. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so I just interview people about service.
Have you worked in the back of house or just front of house?
No, I only work back of house. I've done 1 or 2 front of house jobs, and it's not for me. I can't deal with people.
Yeah, I haven't done back of house before. I'm there's something, it's windowless. There's something cuckoo that goes on in the kitchen that I don't understand. And I'm like, I think it's because like there's no windows. You're there the whole time, no fresh air. I'm like, something happens there that
we're all a little crazy for sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, like you have to be crazy to be a server as well. I've never met a sane person working really ever in food service.
Yeah. So is this your first service industry job?
No, I've been York, like, right? This is like, I'm like career level now at this point. I'm only 25 and I've been doing it for 8 years. Like, I'm like, that's a career. And I'm so young. That's literally so many years. But I started in like Dairy Queen when I was like 15.
Was that like, oh my God.
That one, I'm like, because I was like trying to remember. I worked there for 3 years. And so like I worked.
Oh, like during high school?
Yeah, like in high school, and then I like went to college in like the same area. So I like worked there until I was like 19. And they like promoted me to shift lead, but like it was like this was
like 18? Shift lead at 18?
Yeah, at like 18, 19. Yeah.
It's so funny. Was the whole crew just like all high school and college people?
Yeah, pretty much. It was like just like high school girls, and then like some guys here and there, and then like the 2 guys that ran it were like in their 30s, and then
that's weird. So, it's a little weird.
And like because like the father owned it, and then like he had his son as the general manager, and then he had a daughter, but she was like really weird, and then she would work on the weekends, but she would tell people that like she would tell the new hires that like she like ran the shit, but like she didn't know how to do her job, and she was like 30 years old, like working at a Dairy Queen on the weekends. And like she always had health issues. Like she was telling you about all the shit she can't eat because she's allergic to, and you're like, I'm 17. Like, I'm so sorry. Damn, Amy, that sucks. Like, no, new food. You can't eat. Tomatoes are out. Like, it was crazy.
Oh my God.
I got like promoted, and it's in Arizona, which is like a completely different vibe, like suburban Arizona.
Wait,
Dairy
like
Queen.
northern or southern? Because it's totally different. It's like Scottsdale, Arizona, or like
like Phoenix.
Arizona? Oh, okay.
Phoenix, like kind of by like Tempe sort of area.
Okay, that's a little more chill, right? It's a little less like conservative and like wealthy, right?
It's like still like conservative, I guess. Not totally, but like it's like more families. It's like retirement kind of family area. So it's like so many old people just like roll through. And like they get like the largest shit you can imagine, because it's like they're on their way out. You know what I mean? Like they're just like,
what, you mean like orders?
Like huge cones. Like one guy would get an extra large root beer float every single day. And it's like, I guess if you like knew you only had a few years like left in you, you're like, fuck it. You know what I mean?
You already have diabetes. You're like, fuck it. I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah, it's already there. So I worked there for like 3 years. And then I worked at this place called the Old Spaghetti Factory in college. I don't know if you're familiar.
So was it part of the chain or?
Yeah, it was part of the chain.
I think there was, this is a real deep cut, but if you've ever seen The Real World in Austin, they lived in an old spaghetti factory. I could be getting this wrong, but there was an old spaghetti factory in downtown Austin way back in like 1990s, and they refurbished it so that the Real World cast could live in the old spaghetti factory. It's really weird.
Yeah, it's so weird built, and it's designed in a weird way. Like it's like there's like a trolley in the middle of it, and like that one was like random as fuck too. And like it was like the one that I'm convinced that like when the managers at other locations like fucked up and they like couldn't fire them, they would send them to the location I worked at, because I'm like, you guys are fucking crazy. I mean, like to be a manager of a restaurant, you have to be like an insane person.
And
like,
one of those chain restaurants, like, you know, Shenanigans or Chili's or whatever, it's a whole different level.
Yeah, it's like not anyways. So like I worked there for like 2.5 years.
What was their gimmick? Because those restaurants always had like a gimmick. some kind of,
Yeah,
right?
it's like factory themed, or like they're supposed to be in like old warehouses. Like that's why it's like factory. But the one I worked at was at a mall, and so it wasn't an old like the majority of them are like old warehouse factories that they like turn into a
Yeah.
restaurant. But this one was like a restaurant to begin with. And so they like just design it like with these lamps, and then they like built this like wooden trolley that has like tables in it. And so that's the gimmick. And then they had like a banquet room where they would do like murder mysteries there.
What? Okay.
And so you're serving like 90 people. You're serving 90 people in murder mystery costumes. And all of them,
all right.
and they're like prepaid. And there's like actors who do the murder mystery part. And like they're, I guess, character actors, and they stick in their role the whole time. Cause you're like, hey, cause they do like the count for how much food, like who got what entree, like they do it for some reason. And then you're talking to them and you're like, I need the count. And they're like still in their like 1940s character talking to you, like behind. No one can see it. I would be pissed. I was like, talk to me like a normal person. And like,
and they're acting like Daniel Day-Lewis and There'll Be Blood. And you're like, dude, this is not that important.
In Chandler, Arizona, Old Spaghetti Factory banquet room. Like it would and it would be like kids I went to high school with. I'm like, I know you.
You knew them. Oh my God.
It would piss me the fuck off. I was like, this is
You're just trying to do your job. Yeah, of course. That's crazy.
Yeah. So I was like there for a bit.
What was that kitchen like? Because I've always been fascinated with like chain restaurant kitchens. I've never worked in one, but they seem so grim in some way, because it's like,
I think like
kind of people work there, but I kind of think I know what kind of people work there.
It's like it was like men in their like 30s, and like they had like, you could tell they all had like issues, you know what I mean? Like
what kind of issues? Like jail issues, or like
like jail issues, just like kind of like dealt the wrong cards to begin with, sort of. And it's like, damn. And then like it was like that kind of like have baby mamas, that kind of thing. Like just and like they were pretty nice to me. I mean, I was younger when I worked there, and I'm like a bubbly person, so like sometimes they would be like bitchy to me, but like I usually was like chill with them, because this was like I was like 19, 20, I think 21. And so they were like nice to me, which I'm thankful for, because I don't handle it well. Like I'm sensitive.
I can't imagine them being very, very nice, but because they don't really give it that much of a shit, do they?
Oh no, not at all. I think one time someone found a battery in their lasagna. Like how?
Like a AA battery or something like that?
I think it was like a AA battery. God. I can't remember. I mean, even if it was like one of those, the little ones.
Yeah. How did they react to that? Did you tell them and they're just like, okay.
Well, like it was like I came into work and someone was like, they found a battery in the lasagna yesterday. And it's like awesome. Great.
Good.
Yeah. And that one was, I think, the most like kooky place I've worked, because like it's a chain restaurant. You're in Chandler, Arizona. It's a mall restaurant. There's a billion old people. Like old people are your customers and families. And like the people who worked there were all like college age. It was just so, it was like every day you're like, this is like random. Like what's going on in here?
It's just people like coming in like while they're shopping, right? Like out the pizza kitchen and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And then like, it's a restaurant, and so you have these like I felt like people wanted it to be of higher service than it was. Like for them, it's customers? Like for them, they're like dining out, but the pasta's like $13. Like I'm like, this is fast food. Yeah. Like all of it's like frozen and then like that kind of thing.
I was gonna say, do you remember what the kitchen was like? Was it all microwaves, or were they actually like cooking stuff back there, or was it all like packaged stuff?
I think it was like they made like the sauce fresh and stuff like that. Like I know they would boil the spaghetti. There was a big ass pot for spaghetti. I can tell you that much.
That's it. Okay.
Big ass pot, huge. You can fit a person in there. But yeah, I think it was like we had like a clam sauce, and that was like I think like canned clam. I mean, it's
Yeah,
Arizona,
yeah,
so
of
where are
course.
you getting
Yeah,
fresh clam from?
clams. Yeah, right. Who's
You know what I
buying the
mean?
clam pasta in Arizona too? That's
Yeah, it
crazy.
would. It's 100 degree. People would order spaghetti with meat sauce and a glass of milk in 110-degree weather. I'm like, you're
Glass of milk.
insane. I'm like, that
It's
is
disgusting.
crazy. I know.
That's so
And people would
disgusting.
throw up there. Like that was like a regular, like, because it's so
What?
hot and you're
Oh, they're
eating
eating yeah, spaghetti and milk.
spaghetti.
That's
Yeah.
disgusting. What do you
Like
mean? Like throw up on the table or like in the bathroom or what do you mean?
like they would just like it would just be like on the floor like where the tables are. Like I think there was like, and it's like summertime, so it's like really hot there, so I think that's what it
Yeah.
is. But like
Oh,
once every 2 weeks someone would like throw up like
oh God. Who
on
was
the floor,
cleaning
like
that up?
yeah. Oh, it was the
Who-
bussers, the little like high school
Oh,
bussers.
dude. Yeah, I was a busboy at Red Robin, and they
Mm,
told me to clean up throw up on a table, and I was like, "Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna leave.
yeah,
I'm not
I
gonna do that. I'm not.
I
What am I gonna sweep it into a dustpan? What do you mean? I'm
yeah.
not gonna do it.
One
It's
time the
crazy.
toilet was clogged at the Dairy Queen I worked at in the women's restroom, and I was the only girl on. It was like me and the two 35-year-old guys. Like they were like, you have to do it because you're the girl. And I was like,
Oh, they made you do it. That's
yeah.
crazy.
I
Yeah.
walked in, it was so disgusting.
Oh,
I
it's
started
disgusting.
gagging and I walked
Yeah, of
out and I
course.
was like, it's plugged for the rest of the day. Like that. Like I was like, I can't,
Yeah.
I literally cannot do it. Like I'm gagging.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was so gross. But now I've like worked my way up to like the restaurant I'm at now is like a nice restaurant, like in a hotel. Now I'm in New York City,
Yeah.
but it's like a nice restaurant in a hotel. So I'm like, that I don't have to do anymore.
Yeah. They have people probably clean and stuff, right?
Yeah, for sure.
What at the spaghetti place what was the customer base like? Were you guys like just slammed on the weekends and is it
It
like
would get
like
busy. I
families and
was
stuff?
um it would get busy. Like I worked like Sunday mornings, like brunch there. It's
Oh
spaghetti.
God. Yeah. Oh wait, did they have it was just like pasta for brunch?
Yeah, it's pasta, but they
Damn.
had like a discount. So it's like these old cheap people. It's like older
Yeah.
cheap people coming in, angry as fuck because it's hot outside. Like you get angry when it's hot. Angry as fuck because it's hot outside. Like anything that costs $1 more, they're like pissed about.
Yeah.
And like
They're coming there for the deal. Yeah.
yeah. And so
Yeah.
like there's like no winning. Like I would get reviews just like on Google, like just based on my service. They were like, food was amazing, like the atmosphere is fine, but like I want to
Yeah.
talk about this one server Mera. And I was like 9. I was young. So I was like not trying to be
Yeah.
bitchy. Like it was like
Uh-huh.
shit that was out of my control. But I'm like, you bitches are insane. Like I was like,
Do you remember some of the reviews?
yeah, there was one that was like, she has no like respect for anyone's time. Like it took forever, blah 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 blah. And they ran out of
Yeah.
to-go cups, and she tried to give me like, because I tried to give him like the coffee to go. I was like, we don't have to-go cups. I was like, there's this to-go hot like cup, like you can put your soup in there. Like I don't know, like this is
Yeah.
the easiest solution.
Yeah.
I don't order the shit. Like I'm a server. I'm 19.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm
Yeah.
not ordering the stock here. But like he was like and then she tried to give me like a cup because there's no to-go cups. And then I was like, who leaves, like he was a grown man. I was like, who leaves a review about like
Yeah.
I didn't want to be there. Like a 20-something who like clearly doesn't want
Yeah.
to be at her job.
Yeah, there's this sort of like age group that thinks like, oh, you have to enjoy your job even though you're like stuck there. You're like, I don't want to be here. You know I don't want to be here. So why do I have to appreciate like this job and what I'm doing for you? It's crazy. It's
Yeah.
insane.
And like then I clicked on his profile because I was like, okay, well, what does like a good review look like? I'm just like curious. Like clearly I was not it. And
Yeah.
like he didn't have very many reviews, but the only one that had a 5-star review was like some place, and the the review just said hot women. And I
Oh,
was like,
okay.
I was like,
Yeah.
now that is starting to make
That
sense.
makes
Like
sense. Yeah, it makes
maybe
sense.
if my boobies were a little bigger, maybe I would get an extra star or two. I'm like,
Different
no,
rating.
okay, the
Yeah,
gears are
yeah,
turning.
yeah. How I never understood how servers can deal with that kind of shit. You're constantly dealing with people who are either difficult or have like crazy demands. And then also you have to go to the kitchen and ask them, and they're probably difficult. I know I can be difficult sometimes.
Yeah.
Customers are asking me like, hey, can I get this thing with inside lettuce with like no sauce? And I'm like, yo, that's fucking stupid. But they're like, yeah, I know it's stupid, but I got this customer. I don't know how do you deal with that? Because is it something that you develop over time, or do you just fucking are you like Teflon? It just fucking bounces off you. I don't get it.
As I've gotten older, it's gotten easier.
Uh-huh.
Um, because like you're kind of like everyone's like you're like this is just how it works. Like that's how I like see it now. I'm like this is literally just like restaurant. Like now that I've gone to multiple ones, I'm like I'm not taking it personally because I'm like it's a tale as old as time. Like it's like
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
no, but it is like a customer's like giving you bullshit, and then you have to go to the
yeah.
kitchen and you have to be like, this customer's like not gonna like leave me alone, is going to like storm out if it's just
Yeah.
not made exactly like this, and then the
Yeah.
kitchen's like fuck you, and then you're like I really just need that. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy
Yeah.
how badly I just need it to happen. It's not me, but like it is. You just kind of have to be like actually it's like not me the entire time. Like you kind of have to be like I'm like being normal in this situation, you know, I'm like trying my
Uh-huh.
best. Like it's
Yeah.
just yeah, like you just kind of stop taking it personally, and then you are just kind of like damn, everyone's crazy except for me. It's like to a certain extent, like you kind of have to just be
Yeah.
like whatever, like
Yeah.
everyone's hungry, everyone's having a bad day. Like for me I'm like customers are hungry, and
Jesus.
then the people in the kitchen haven't seen sunlight in 7 hours. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
so
If they're lucky, 7 hours, probably like 12.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of
Yeah.
like, we all have a bad, like the customers I am like, fuck you. But like,
Yeah.
but I
Mm.
love like a good story. So when they start acting crazy, I'm like, ah! Like I'm like, oh, you're crazy. And then I'm like, guess who I get to call everyone up in my like life and be like, and then this customer did this. Like, so it's like
Exactly. Yeah, that's why I started this podcast. It's great. So I get to hear all
yeah.
the stories. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you just like with age, you just kind of are like, and you realize too that bitchy customers like will find like they come in ready to like
Yeah, they
be a
want to
bitch.
fuck. Yeah, they want to fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The job I have now, like it's a nice restaurant, so everyone can like afford like it's like $7 for a half of an avocado. Like it's like crazy.
Yeah.
And so it's like the customers are actually a lot like nicer. Sometimes you get a crazy person, but like they're a lot nicer because and it's like attached to an expensive hotel. So money is like no concept to them. So they're not like I'm paying this much for my food and this is coming
Oh
out.
yeah.
Like they don't have that kind of like mentality, which is like kind of nice. But then when they are bitchy, I'm like, I'm sorry. Like you're talking to someone and I have like a button down, like uniform, like tie, like white apron. Like I look like I'm wearing a uniform. And so I'm kind of like, and you're talking to someone who's wearing this. I don't even get to wear what I want. So like,
Yeah.
then that's like, I don't know, that like makes it easier. But yeah, like the old spaghetti factory, they wanted they thought it was a Michelin star restaurant. And I'm like, you're at an Olive Garden essentially.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, exactly.
so
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So did you end up moving to New York after that?
Just graduated college and I'd worked there for 2.5 years and I was making like $13 an hour essentially, like with the tip added. And I was like, I just went through all of college to be making $13 an hour at the old spaghetti factory. I was like, I just need to like leave.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it was just so slow. Like it's this Olive Garden essentially. But I worked at like a steakhouse for like a month and then it shut down because of the pandemic. And then I was like living with my parents at the time. So I was like, I'll just like chill for a bit. And then I moved to New York August 2020 and then immediately got a job at Pies and Thighs. And then I was there for about like
Pies and thighs? What is that?
Pies and thighs.
Is
It was
like
like
a
a
New York thing?
southern like chicken place,
Okay.
and then like pies.
In New York?
Yeah, it's in like Brooklyn.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
What's that place like?
That one was like, that one was a lot of fun, but same like kind of bullshit. Like, well, like a lot of like cool, like at that point it was like Brooklyn. So it was like everyone was working with like was super cool and like creative. And like I had
Oh, yeah.
moved to do like comedy. So I was like with other people, like musicians, other like comedians. So like it was really fun there. And then like all my friends like quit and I was stuck with like everyone else. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. But that one was like, I was like shift lead there. So it was just, that was when I like, I finally understood like every manager I had. And I was like, damn, every manager I've had is so fucking bitchy to me. Like all I'm doing is like working, like what the hell? And then I'm like, oh no, you're miserable in that role. Cause like,
yeah, of course. Yeah.
You don't make any of the rules, but you have to like enforce them and then deal with like all the problem solve. I was like, bitches really do not know how to problem solve. It made me feel crazy. I was like, 3 before me. Go use 3 resources before you come to me with the problem. And then
that was your manager rule. You're like
3 before me. It's like what you do in like schools. Like you're like, ask 3 people before you come to me as the teacher. But it was like, where's the, like, because we had merch. Someone would be like, where's the merch? And I was like, did you check the box right next to you? And they were like,
the merch? Yeah.
No. And then would just stand there. And I'm like, well, I guess you're not walking towards the box. So I'll go walk towards the box that's 5 feet away from us. Oh, look, that's where the merch, like where there was a sign that said the merch. And these were the employees. The people I was working with, I was like, you guys are actually insane. Like, it would make me like, I was like, I understand this. And then from that point forward, I was like, I will never be anything more than like a server or bartender ever, 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 ever again in any sort of food service.
People management is a nightmare.
It's crazy.
Especially food service, because half the people don't want to be there.
Exactly. And I understood that. And I'm like, if you don't want to be there, that's like fine. But I'm like, I think it was like the problem solving that I like could not, because you're like doing a million things. And then someone's like, where is this? And I'm like, you know, you've been here 6 months. It has always been across the street where we would like keep shit. And I'm like, why would it not be there? And I was like, did you go across the street and check? And they were like, no. And I was like, well, then do that. Like, what is happening? What is that? And you're like taking orders. Like it was crazy. Yeah. And then, I was just like too young. And then like, because I was a shift lead, like when there would be people angry, they would grab me and no one wanted to see a 22-year-old girl like be the one that like, no, everyone was pissed.
They're complaining too. Yeah.
I was like, well, I actually got really like bitchy there. Like I finally was able, I think that also like helped is I could be mean back. Cause at the other places, like I couldn't really do that, or I just didn't know how to yet and like get away with it. But there I was like, bye, like go if you're gonna have that. Like I kind of like was able to like stand up for myself because I'm like, don't talk to me like that, like you're crazy. Yeah, no one was happy to see me be like, well, let me give you a refund, or like I just would give people a refund. I was like, you're gonna like yell at me until you get this for free, like so I'm just gonna give it to you for free. Like or like they would try to like tell me the whole story and I was like, it's off. Just get bye.
Just get rid of them.
Yeah, here's some money, go. Sure. I don't need to hear anymore. But that one, I'm like trying to remember stories because so much is like, I've seen so much that I'm like, some of that shit is like blocked out.
You block it out. I know. Did you notice a difference in customers? Because like, I've never been to New York, but you know, the reputation is that New Yorkers are kind of rude and like upfront. Like there's no fucking around and no like Southern kindness, I guess.
Yeah, I noticed that was the difference. And that's when I started being able to they're gonna make you feel dumb until like you like literally kind of give it back. And if you give it back, then like it like the interaction like just like is done. So like I definitely noticed a difference. Like people would be like $8 for bacon, and you're like, I didn't make the price. Like, again, you're talking to like a 22-year-old. Like, I'm not the owner of this restaurant, clearly. I'm wearing like a crop top. Like let's use some context clues. But yeah, I've had some like crazy people, like definitely like way more like out of pocket crazy. Like this was like right before I quit, and like was one of the reasons I did is like some guy came in and like he was like, it was like 5 p.m., but he was drunk and like we didn't know that. And he was like waiting for his to-go food, and he just like snapped on me. Like it literally was like, all I did was, and I didn't want to be there like that day. So I was already like, whatever. But I like gave him his food and I was like, here, like whatever his name was, I was like, Ray. And then I gave it to him, and he like came back, he left, and he was like, thanks for my fucking food when I handed it to him. And I was like, whoa. Damn. I was like, I don't know what that was, because all I did was give you a bag of food. And then he like stormed back in, and he was like, there's fucking hair in this food. Fuck you, bitch. Like, I'm going to fuck you up. And like, I immediately walked away, because I was like, he's literally like, he was like coming at me and I hadn't done anything. So I was like, I'm going to walk away. The general manager was there, and I was like, I'm going to grab someone else. Cause I was like, this is scary. Like, I'm scared. I'm sensitive. I was like, this is scary. Like, this is like a grown ass, like 6'3" man, like shouting at me. And so I like walked away to grab him. And like, he started following me, and he was like, I'm going to smash you to fucking bits, bitch. Like, I'm going to get my girlfriend to come here and fuck you up. Like, fuck you. I hadn't said anything at this point. Like, I was like,
what the fuck?
And then I like hid around the corner, because I was like, he's coming towards me. Like, I was like, and I'm a petite woman. Like, I was like, I'm gonna get fucked up. Like, I was like, I'm scared. And so like I started crying, because I was like, that was really I've never been like, that was like literally like verbal harassment. Like, I was like, I've never experienced that before.
That's crazy. What did the general manager do?
He like de-escalated it, and then talked to the guy, and the guy just like ranted to him. And immediately once the guy general manager was like talking to him, he like chilled the fuck out. And I was like, okay. And then I'm like crying, and I'm like, I want to go home. That was like scary. And then
traumatizing.
And then the like general manager is like, well, I think because you like walked away, it like put like fire to the fuel or whatever. And he was like, you should have like stood your ground. And I was like, he was going to hit me. Dude, like, I was like,
that's
what?
So fucked up.
And I was like, I didn't. And he was like, what did you say to him? And I was like, I gave him his bag of food. I was like, what the hell? And he was like, don't worry, I de-escalated it. Like, I like gave him his food for free, and we like fist bumped. Like, he just like wanted to be heard. And I was like, what? You're crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah. And in that moment, I was like, I don't respect this place. Like, I was like, I have no, like, I was like, that was crazy that you like thought it was me, A. B, this guy was coming back to hit me, and you gave him a fist bump and you rewarded him.
He's going to come back and think he can do the same thing again.
Or I'm like, he could come back, because like the general manager was leaving like in a few hours, and I was like, he could literally like come back tonight. Like, if he like, he's a crazy person. I'm like, if something flips in his like, he knows where to find me.
Exactly. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So that was like the final. That was just like the most traumatizing thing that's happened to me, like in food service. And now like, I'm like, nothing else I think will like happen like that again. Or like, in the place I'm at now is like nicer. So I'm like, that will literally never happen, because like it's just a different like area. And I mean, it could happen, but I'm like, it's just like the odds of it in like a nicer restaurant are like a little bit like lower, just because like people are everywhere. But
for sure.
that happened. and we would get like calls of people like cussing you, like scary, like I'm coming here and I'm gonna fuck you up, da 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 da, like threats over the phone, and you're just like, what is happening? Like,
what the fuck?
But
is it just because of the area, or what was going on there?
I think it might have been the area. I think that might be it too, and like, yeah, I think that could potentially be it. And it wasn't a super expensive restaurant. Not that like people like who don't have money are like fucked up people, but like I think there is just like there's something like with that like you just get more people because it is more of like a cheaper restaurant. So there's more, there's just like so much more like people coming in and eating this food, which the likelihood of like crazy people goes up. But yeah, I think one guy called and he was like, by the way, like, or like he said something, like he kept like moaning into the phone. Oh, he was like, yeah, I'll get like a fish sandwich. And I was like, this is so weird. But I was like, at least it's over the phone. Like he can't see me. Like, whatever. Like, okay, it's my voice. Like, you're not getting whatever. And he was like, yeah, I'm coming to pick it up. Like, I'm right outside, like the store. And I was like, fuck, no, he could see me. Shit. Like, I was like, then it's even creepier. Like,
oh God.
I was like, damn it. Like, cause like when they're creepy, you're like, whatever. Like, again, at least you can't see me. Okay. I'm giving like some sort of phone fantasy to you for some reason. But then he was like, no, I'm right outside. I was like, great.
Oh,
awesome. God. Cool. Yay. Jesus. So excited to see you, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man. I feel like the difference between what men experience in the food service industry and women experience is so far removed. Like, yeah, I can't even explain it.
I've had so many like crazy shit that's said to me. And I always laugh, which maybe isn't good because I'm like it's never been super scary, like where I'm like, I'm scared for my well-being. It's always been like, or like the way they do it is just so like random and weird that I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah. Like I had this guy that it was at the Old Spiaghetti factory. He's with his family. He's like old. And I get older men like always because they don't give a shit. And they're like, back in my day, like I'm like, you get a pass because I'm like, this feminism shit is new to you, like whatever, like okay. But I had this like older guy, he's like drawing and he's with his wife and then like 4 adult children and their spouses. There's this huge like tabletop of like adult people at a table. And he's like drawing and I'm kind of like whatever, and he's like, ask me what my name is. And whenever they ask you what your name is, you're like, we're about to be friends, like this is going to be a whole this is dinner and a show for you. Like I'm like, we're chatting. And so we get to like the salads. This is early in, you get a salad, an entree, and dessert. Like there are many courses, many opportunities for me to come, like I have to come to this table. And we're like at like salads, and he like hands me this piece of paper upside down on the table. And he's like, I drew this for you. And I was like, yeah. And I saw it was upside down and I was like, I'm not opening this in front of him. Like, I was like, this is going to be scary.
Oh God.
And I like walk away and I open it and like, it's a drawing of me holding from behind.
Okay. All right.
And like, he like detailed my like butt crack. Like it looks like I'm wearing no pants because he like drew an ass crack, like a full ass crack. Like he drew my butt. Like it's like he started with the butt. That was his muse. And then he kind of like drew everything else.
Filled it in.
Yeah. It was crazy. I don't know. Jesus. Like I just like found it and posted it on my Instagram because I was like, everyone needs to see this. I don't know if you can like, I'll like pull it up. I don't know if people can like see this. Or if it'll...
Wait, you have to move it back a little bit. Oh my God. Dude, he really did start with the butt.
It's crazy. God. This is like...
That is nuts. Wait, did you have it? You kept it? Or did you just take a picture?
No, I kept it. And I took a picture. It's somewhere in my rooms. And I thought I lost it too. I was so devastated. And then I found it recently and I was like, yes! Because it's crazy. And like... I was younger though at the time, so and that was like my first like harassment on the job. So it kind of like freaked me out. Like I was like, I don't
Yeah,
like
of course.
this. Now I'm like, you bitches are funny. Like you're acting crazy. But
Wait, how did his family not see him drawing this? And then what happened after that?
I'm assuming it was like one of those things where they're like, that's him doing his thing over there. Like they can't stop him. Like I'm sure this has been going on for decades, but, or he did hide it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But then he like, I took the picture and I was like, I don't want to like serve this table anymore. But then I was like, whatever. I was like, at least I'll get a good tip. Like, hi.
Did you though? Or was
he wasn't the one paying? I got like normal a tip. I was like, awesome. Yeah. That was his tip to me.
Yeah, that was the tip. Yeah.
But I came back after and he was like, did you like my drawing? I was like, it was so cool. Like, wow, so detailed. Like, thanks, man. Like, yeah. But I remember I was like showing my coworkers and I was like, guys, this guy just like drew this of me. And I was like kind of not like, I didn't think it was funny like at the time. Like, but then once I like left the shift, I was like, this is hilarious. But in the moment, I was kind of like, I'm scared. And
what's this guy gonna do? Yeah.
Yeah. The like 16-year-old busser was like, hey, if you're not going to keep the picture, like, can I?
No.
I was like, what the hell? And he was like, not joking. Dude. He was serious. Yeah, I was like, you people are sick. I was like, what is happening?
It's fucking no self-awareness. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. But that happened. And then I'm sure something happened at Pies on that. Recently at this place I work now, there's like this old guy and I do like the morning service. So I served him for breakfast. He was a normal old man. He comes back for lunch with like his whole family. And I think it was like him being with his family. He wanted to like be a jokester. Like he wanted to like put on a little show. So he started acting mad different with me. And I was like, whoa. I was like, dude, I saw you 2 hours ago and you were like normal. And I was like, what is happening now? Like you saw me, like we know each other. Yeah. And then like, I had to like ask the table, you have to ask like, do you guys have allergies? And I asked like, oh, any allergies? And he goes, I have an allergy, but my wife won't let me tell you. And I was like, oh
God, now he's being
okay,
weird.
Well, and didn't elaborate. Like I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to leave that at that. Like, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not going to press any further. And then I kind of like, haha. And he goes, I'm allergic to dirty girls.
Oh, right in front of his wife? What the fuck?
His wife, his daughter, his grandchildren, his whole family. And like fuck? They look like the young like grandkid who was like graduating college. So like around my age, he looked so like mortified that like his grandpa just said that. But I was like, what the fuck does that mean? Like I'm allergic to dirty girls.
That doesn't make any sense. Oh God, that's crazy.
I was like, how am I supposed to take that? And I was kind of like, I don't think you would say this to a male server, like, but like, of course. And I laughed so hard. I encouraged it. I laughed so hard when he did that. I mean, it was funny to me. I was like, okay, sure. Yeah. Like, go for it.
Did he get weirder?
He kind of like,
jeez.
He was still being like over the top, but like he didn't say anything weird. Oh, and then they tipped like 10%. I was like, of course, mad awesome. It was like a $200, or I don't know how much it was, but they tipped me $10. There were like 8 people at that table. I was like, great, thanks. Wow. At least I got that story. Thank you. Amazing. So happy. But yeah, so.
Did you go from the chicken place to this fancy restaurant?
Essentially, I worked at a school in between because I worked at the chicken place and I was like, I can't do fucking food service. Never again. Yeah. Fuck this. I've been doing it for so long. Like, I need to do something else. Da 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 da. And then I worked at like a daycare and I was like, okay, actually, this is like kind of harder and like more hours. And I was like, let me go back to what I know. But I was like, this time I know like I need to serve at like a nice restaurant because I was like, there's a professionalism to it. Like it needs to be more than casual dining. Because I was like, bitches will then behave. Like there's a certain, way of behavior at a nice place. And so I had a friend who worked there and she like got me the job there.
Nice.
But yeah, I had like a little lull, but I ultimately went back because I was like, oh, I can make, and when it's a nicer place, it's just the tips are higher. So I like work like 4 days a week, which is nice.
Yeah, that is nice. Yeah. So you overall have seen like a better customer base. What about the kitchen?
The kitchen is a lot nicer too. Like this place, I'm like,
nice.
Kitchen's nicer. Like this one, I'm like, I'm kind of lucky because like the clients are nice. The kitchen is like nice. Like sometimes you get a little bit of like flack from both sides, but ultimately like, yeah, I'm like, damn, the clients are, I'm like, and they're like wealthier. And I'm like, damn, they're like kind of nicer. Like, I mean, I don't make like money. So I'm like, I'm with them right now. Or like usually, cause I used to be like, fuck customers, like fuck people who make wealthy people. But I'm like, you guys are actually being nice to me. Like, which I haven't had in a minute. But I mean, it is like, you're happier cause you make money and like, this is a nice meal for you and you have you don't care. You're like, add the $7 avocado. I don't give a fuck. Like, so they're not even looking at the check. That's what's so crazy to me is it's like $200, $300 checks and they just da-da-da.
Yeah, but they also don't know how to tip as in my experience.
See, they actually tip. They tip.
Really?
Yeah, they usually tip like 20%. Sometimes you'll get
that's good.
Like stiffed here and there. But they usually do. Well, it's people like visiting too. So like sometimes you'll get people, I don't know, they're just like kind of, I think ever since The Menu came out, that movie, have you seen?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think ever since that movie came out, they've been a lot nicer.
Yeah. I think there was a shift, like the pandemic, The Menu, and then The Bear. I think people are like starting to understand a little bit.
We have it really hard. We're people too.
Yeah. They started to realize that we're not just like servants. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, actually, like I do shit outside of this. Like I'm a person.
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes you'll get an annoying ass customer. But again, there is like a disparity between like me as a server and them as a customer. Like there is this disparity and they're like aware of it. Whereas when I worked at casual places, we're all like equals. And so when they're like rude to you, you're like, I'm in the same boat as you. Like
I'm with you, bro. Yeah.
Like we're both fucked. But when they're like wealthier, I think they are kind of like, I'm sorry. Please don't hate, like, cause they have seen The Menu and there's like, and they feel like guilty for being like wealthy. And I'm like, more money for me. Yes.
I don't know. Okay.
At least at this restaurant, at least
that restaurant. Yeah.
What I'm experiencing here. I haven't gone like Michelin, so I don't know what that's like quite yet. But I also work the breakfast, which is just, I think, a different.
Like families mainly?
Yeah, it's like people who stay at the hotel coming down for like breakfast. So again, they're on vacation. They're like happy to be there. And then like brunch, sometimes you get people, but they're like happy to be at brunch. Like I don't really work dinner, so I don't know what that's like. But I have had some customers, like I had this woman, she like ordered an orange juice and she's like, is it fresh squeezed? And we have like that brand Natalie's.
Yeah, I don't know.
Which it's like fresh squeezed orange juice, but it's like in a jug. So it's like, yes, but it's not like we squeeze it like in the restaurant. But I always say yes because I'm like, I'm trying to get my money up. Like I want you to buy it. So I'm like, technically, I'm like, it says fresh squeezed like on the thing. Like it is. Like, I don't know what to tell you. And like, and you didn't specify if it was like squeezed in-house or not. Like if you said, is it squeezed in-house? I would give you the answer. But like, yeah, it's like kind of fresh squeezed. So I like said yes. And then like, this woman drinks it and she's like, yeah, I just had fresh squeezed orange juice in Greece and this does not taste like that.
Yeah, they probably have better oranges in Greece.
I was like,
what's she talking about?
Yeah. And again, I'm in my uniform, which is like tie, white button down, slacks, non-slip. Like, I'm like, and you're telling me this? Like, I don't give a fuck that you were in Greece. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll take it off the check.
Yeah.
Cool, you were in Greece and you had amazing orange juice. Must be nice. Some of us are
Yeah.
here at 7 in the fucking morning serving eggs.
Yeah.
Like,
Serving you, not in Greece. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm like,
Jesus.
okay. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think maybe I'm just lucky where I'm the like spot I'm in where people
Yeah.
want to be at this restaurant for some reason. But
That's nice. Yeah. So do you work in the restaurant so that you can do comedy at night? Is that the deal?
yeah, exactly.
Nice.
So I'm like, then I
Nice.
get 3 days to kind of work on that, and I work during the day so I can do it at night.
Uh-huh. How is that scene, I guess? Are there a lot of servers and people in service who are doing kind of the same thing as you are?
Um,
Because I don't really know too much about like the New York like food or like kitchen scene or anything like that. Like I wonder if there are people who are actually dedicated to working kitchens, or if there are more people trying to do stuff outside of kitchens. And
I would say in
restaurants.
like the place I'm at now, like the kitchen, like the back of house, like I think that's more like industry. They want to like work in like, cause like it's a big like industry in New York. Like it's like who you know, like there's like a scene there, which I'm starting to realize working at this place because it is like a, talked about restaurant. But I'm like, that is like people who really want like love the craft and like the food and like this is their world, like it's a like that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Whereas like I guess front of house is kind of like it depends on where you're serving, I feel like. And I've only served 2 places here, but like Pies and Thighs was like we're all just trying to do our creative thing. And this is in like Brooklyn, so it's like we're like young people, where like all the transplants move and like because they're trying to make it, and then like serving at a restaurant. And you can kind of find like spots, like casual spots will get a lot of people who are like more creative because like they're like, I don't want to fucking do this. Like I can like fuck off at my job because it's like a casual dining experience. So it's like kind of places more in that like Brooklyn Bushwick area. You'll probably get more coworkers like that. And like barista, like that kind of, that's a good job if you want to be a musician or comedian. But I work in like the Lower East Side. So there's places in the Lower East Side like that for sure. But I think because like the place I'm at is like above casual, so my coworkers are kind of like a modge podge of some people were musicians, some of them were like, oh, I'm like going to grad school, or like this is just a placeholder because I'm like young right now and I'm gonna like serve and then get my real like 9 to 5 down the road sort of. And the jobs are so hard to like get here right now, like climate's the wrong word, but like it's just like everyone's applying for the same jobs over and over again, that like I think a lot of people went back to food service.
Oh, in terms of like tech jobs and like 9 to 5s and stuff.
Yeah. Like it's so like my friend has the most amazing resume. She's a genius. And like, she's like, I think I might, she's like, can you get me a food service job? And I was like, first of all, I don't want you in food service. Cause I was like, you're like an angel. Like I was like, you're going to get, people are going to be mean to you. And I don't want anyone mean to you. And I was like, also too, you've only ever had like kind of, I mean, food service is a real job, but like a 9 to 5, like compute, like that kind of like professional, I guess, job.
You're going to get chewed up. Yeah. You don't want that.
Yeah. And I was like, So I'm kind of like, no, stop. I was like, just keep applying for jobs and you'll find one. But she was kind of like, okay, like, it's expensive here. And she like was going to go work at Starbucks. And I was like, it's crazy because her resume is like this really like talented graphic designer. She's worked for Spotify, And she was like, I might have to work at Starbucks to like make ends meet.
Make it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild. Damn. So what's your plan? Do you ideally, do you see yourself working in service for much longer? Or are you trying to get out?
I'm like,
or do you work in service for a little bit of the stories? Do you tell the stories on stage?
I don't tell the stories on stage, but like now I'm like, oh, this, I'm starting to realize that's why I like keep doing it. Is like there are just so many stories. Like just in like on stage, like I think a lot of it is like I'll have like inspiration from it. But like, yeah, I think when I worked at a daycare, it was so difficult that like it made me like run back to food service where I was like, actually, this isn't like that bad. Like, or I'm like 4 days a week and I'm making like money that's like livable. I'm like, that's kind of nice. And like, I can like clock out of work and never like not think about my job at all. Exactly. I'm like, that's like, now I'm like, hopefully not forever. I'm sure something will happen at this job and I'll be like, fuck this, I'm gonna go like somewhere else. But like my comedy's doing like, I'm like flowing like right. So I'm like, hopefully, I mean, that's what everyone says. Everyone's a dreamer and they're like, I'm not gonna be here for long, but like everyone's an actress serving. But I'm kind of just like really being optimistic that like it'll just eventually I'll like, because I have a friend who I met at Pies and Thighs. She was serving for like ever and ever and ever, like years and like over 10 years. And she was like 30. So I guess whatever. But she finally got her break in comedy and she like doesn't have to serve anymore. So I like see that and I'm like, yeah, that'll happen to me too. Like we're friends actually. And like, that's also going to happen to me. Like I like now I've seen it. So I'm like, yep, it's possible.
Yeah. You just have to know that it's possible, right? Yeah.
But definitely I'm sure I've only been at this place for like 6 months. But once you get past that year and a half, like you can't stay at a food service job longer than a year and a half. Like it will, I'm already like becoming mentally like where I'm like, everyone's pissing me off. No one knows how to do their job. Like, and then everyone, I know how to do my job now. So they're all coming to me and I'm like, I'm not the supervisor. I'm the server. I take the orders and I put the plates on the tables. Anything else, like that's your job. That's like the host is asking me how to host. I'm like, whoa.
No.
I don't know. Like, even if I know the answer, sometimes I'm bitchy and I'm like, I don't know. Cause I like, well, I'm also like busy. So I'm like, I'm doing something, like figure it out.
Yeah. Do you feel like, that's, you don't want to get stuck. Like the second you start taking on those things, you're like, oh shit, I might get stuck here.
Yeah, like I might get to like I'm Stockholm syndrome. Like I don't realize like how bad it is. But this place is like bearable right now.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, like I said at the beginning, like I interview people who like their whole life is food, but then I come from the other end, which is what you're talking about, where you're like you're just in a service industry job that's bearable, so you can do like art on the side or whatever, right? Yeah. So as long as the job is bearable and it pays your bills, you're like, fuck it. All right. That's cool. That's good.
Yeah. I'm like, this is just my journey. Like, I guess. So, but, and now I've become more like respectful. When I was younger, I was kind of like, I think I would butt heads with management, especially when I was in college. Cause I was like, this is like, I'm not going to be here forever. I was like, I'm not serving forever. Like I'm in college. I'm a young girl. Like I'm going to go do my thing. And like, I didn't realize, or like, I knew these people. I'm like, they're like 40 and they're like managing the old spaghetti factory. This is their life. Like this is, they, I don't know how much they like this, but like, this is what they've chosen to do. That's their journey. And so like, I think I was kind of like maybe a little insensitive to that or like, I don't know, but now I'm
not
like
understanding. Yeah. But now, yeah,
now I'm like, I have my thing and this is your world. I'm like, and I'm merely a visitor, but it does. I think I get like, cause now I'm like, okay, I'll do what you say. Cause I was kind of like, why are you telling me to do that? Like food, like, why does the fork need to be here? Like the food tastes the same. Like if the fork is here, like the food's going to taste the same on the fork.
Yeah. The little details from like fine dining. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, and shit like that where I'm like, okay, it's just it. But now I'm like, this is your world. Like, I'll comply. Like, I'm a team player. Like,
yeah. All right. Well, do you have a normal show in New York as well that you go to?
I don't have like a monthly show, but I'm usually I get like asked to be on a show or like I will be putting on a show like every once in a while or like usually once a month I'm doing something on stage, if not more than once a month. So,
Nice. Okay.
but yeah.
Yeah.
So
What's your Instagram and
my Instagram is at Mera Caulfield, MERACAULFIELD. But yeah, that's where you can like find what I'm doing. And I don't know if you were like, love listening to this girl. She's crazy. Want to see what's going on my Instagram story.
Yeah,
Sometimes I post at the job.
Oh, do you really? Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah,
I just recently started following you because of Keat. So, damn, that's awesome. Thank you. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate you telling all those stories, those crazy stories. Yeah.
Of course. My pleasure. Right. Had so many. Was excited to tell him.
All right. Thanks, Mera.
Yeah, thank you. You as well. Bye.
Bye.